My name is Sue Goodall.
All right. How long have you lived in Delmar?
I've been in town here since 1980.
What's special to you about Delmar?
I think the kind of family feel of the community. We all know each other and everyone waves at you when you go down the street or when you go to Casey's. It's like part of the family.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, you can.
What was life like when you? What was life like in Delmar when you were growing up?
Well, I wasn't here when I was growing up, so I didn't come until 1980 when I married and came into the community. But it was, I think, pretty similar to what it is now. Students all go out and kind of play outside, and they're in the park and in the playgrounds behind the school, and just as a family feel. I think that hasn't really changed too much over the years.
What memories do you have about the school?
About the school. Well, my memories about the school, since I started teaching here back in the early 80s and then became the principal and then the superintendent, I've got a lot of diverse memories. It's a lot of different ones. One of the things I think that comes back to me is how kindergarten has changed over the years. When I first came into town, there was an old building where Grossman Hall is now. It was the old St. Pat's Hall, and the kindergarten class was actually there all by themselves, and it's just kind of big old building. And so shortly after that, they tore that building down and built Grossman Hall. So they moved kindergarten up here to the school, but it was behind the school in a separate trailer. So the kindergarten class was like in a separate little trailer outside, and I always thought, ooh, it had to be kind of cold and rattly and those kinds of things. And so as the years have gone by, kindergarten is one of our main classes now. Students learn to read in kindergarten. When they come out of kindergarten, they're reading, and so they now have become so much more part of the whole, K through 6 district. So that's been fun to see, and how preschool has almost taken that kindergarten role.
How has, what were some of the downtown buildings like before they closed down and things?
Became empty.
When I first came to town, there was a few stores or buildings left. There was a hardware store that actually the Bennis's had, and so I know my husband, he was a farmer, and so when he needed something, he'd go to the hardware store downtown instead of having to run to Macokota to get things. There was a little cafe, and so farmers could come in and have their meal at lunchtime or whatever. And then there was the local bar, and that was about it for downtown buildings. The bank was still where the old historic building is now, where kind of City Hall is. But those buildings the businesses have all kind of gone away over time, which is sad.
All right. Can you tell me about the street you live on?
The street that I live on is on Vane Street, and we are kind of on the eastern end of the town. So our farm connects to the end of that road or that street, so we're on a dead-end street, and our farm connects right to that in our house. And so I feel very lucky. We kind of have a very quiet little area back there that we can reside on, and not much traffic. But we're still in town, so it's kind of fun. But we're straight east of the post office.
What makes Delmar Delmar to you?
What makes Delmar Delmar to me is, I think, the sense of farm families that kind of have grown up over the years. Farming has done a lot of changing the last few years, and the small family farm has kind of gone away. But it still feels like a farming community. I still kind of get that feel, and a lot of the people that work in town still work agriculture-related kind of jobs. And so it's just a small farming community to me that makes it, I think, special.
What makes you stay in Delmar? What part just makes you not want to move away? You just like Delmar and you want to stay?
I think part of my wanting to stay in the community is we're attached to the Delmar area with land, so we have farmland that my husband is attached to. It's his family farm over the ages, for generations. His family has farmed the land that's kind of east and south of Delmar. And so we live in his grandmother's house that they built over 100 years ago. And so we just have a kind of history with the town. My husband has grown up in the town and has a real connection to this area. For me too, it's just a great, quiet area. It's a wonderful place to raise children. It's been a wonderful place to be connected to the school. I know all the children, so when I see students outside, I'm like, hey Allison, or hey Brant, it's fun. So that makes, you get that connection with people as well. And so kind of the connection with the land and with the people. And then I like the small town area.
What makes Delmar feel like home?
What makes Delmar feel like home? I guess when you've lived here as long as you have, it just becomes home. And again, it's the people that you make the connections with. So when I've worked at school, I know so many families. I think probably I know almost everyone in town and where they live. And so you have that connection with people, and that just feels like home.
If you sold Delmar to someone who didn't know anything about it, how would you describe it?
If I sold Delmar?
Yes.
Oh, so like if I would promote Delmar to others, how would I promote it? I think if you enjoy making personal connections with people, if you like quiet living, if you like the farm area, if you love to garden or have flower beds, this area is perfect for things like that. If you like to ride horses or maybe sports, those kinds of things, I think there's a lot of opportunities, but it's a small town living as opposed to the big city lights and more maybe action and places to go. I think we tend to be more homebodies that just enjoy living kind of on the farm or in the farmhouses that we live in.
I'm going to interrupt you guys for 1 second. Can you, I think we're getting a lot of the paper moving. So just when you're looking at your questions, try to keep the sound popping down.
Paper still.
So sorry, you guys are asking amazing questions. So I think
What do you see? What do you want Delmar to be like, look like in the future?
That's a good question. What do I want to see Delmar look like or be like in the future? I know the Delmar Development Group works diligently to try to think of new ways to promote the town or maybe grow businesses or have more activities, and I think that's always fun. I think maybe not a lot of change would be fine with me. It would be really nice to have a few businesses in town, whether it be local people that would have handmade or homemade kinds of things, artists that maybe would, sell paintings or sculpture or some of those kinds of things I think would be awesome. I think we could be a nice little community to promote kind of people within the community. So kind of promoting people's talents would be a really good way to kind of grow, I think, the town.
What is your favorite memory about teaching Delwood?
About teaching at Delwood, my favorite memory, well, I had the greatest job in the world. I got to teach PE, and then I also was the librarian. I had a kind of a double major. So that was like the best job I've ever had. I did that for 15 years and absolutely loved it because I love being outside, I love sports. So much fun working with students from kindergarten through 6th grade and having, really teaching students how to build their skills, their physical skills. But then I also had the fun of promoting books and being able to read books and have students get involved with, series when they start reading, or watching students that start to read in 1st grade, and by the time they're in 4th and 5th grade, they're just reading voraciously, that voracious reader. So that's always been probably my favorite kind of memory of Delwood and teaching.
So I have a question then. What is your favorite book to read to children, young children?
Oh, I have so many. That is so hard. And some of those that are so good are so sad that it just is so tough. But maybe The Velveteen Rabbit. It's one of my all-time favorites, and it still gets me. And so I have to really, as a teacher, to read it. It's really hard sometimes, but I love The Velveteen Rabbit.
What was the book that most children wanted you to read all the time?
Oh, goodness. I think it was Ever series kind of was out and special at the time. There was a Rainbow Fish book. It has the halogen pictures.
That's great.
And there was a series. It started with one and there was a series.
I love
and,
the Rainbow Fish books.
And I probably got asked to read that so often. It was because a lot of the pictures. That and there was a book that the series always had pictures around the borders. And it told you what the story was going to be in the next page by the borders. You can kind of get like clues. And so those books were always fun too to share with students.
My favorite was Big Red Lollipop.
Like what campaign do you like seeing? Like when we do our when we have like the car show and other things like that. What one do you like the best?
Well, I usually end up working those because I'm part of the Lions group, and so for the car show, I'm usually in the food tent and making hamburgers and brats and things, and so, but that is a really fun activity. I really like the car show because so many community people come out and usually are helping. You get the whole town of Delmar almost helping with that, and I like cars. I like old cars, so it's kind of fun to walk around afterwards and kind of see some of the old cars as well. We also have the golf tournament, which is a lot of fun because I love to golf. So those are two probably my favorites.
Is there a golf course here?
No.
No.
Makokata has a golf.
Oh, okay.
I wish.
What do you wish people knew about Delmar?
What do I wish people knew about Delmar? I think people know how good our schools are. We've been, last year we were #1 in the state as far as academic achievement. So I think it's kind of getting out there how kind of quality school system that we have here. I think they know that students are polite and responsible. I hear that from people yet today, how polite Delwood students are, which is really, really nice. I think they also know that, kind of through the Lions Club, that we're a service group, that we kind of serve others, and so if there's someone that needs something, I know that they're not afraid to come to Delmar to ask for help with things, because we've had fundraisers, or we've sent people to help on many different projects, and I think we kind of are here to serve.
I had a question going back to something you mentioned before. You mentioned farming changing over time. Just wondering what impact that's had on Delmar.
I think that's, one of the things that the farming changes have brought about, I think where we have more almost corporate farms or really huge farms, and the small kind of family farms have gone away, is that we have a lot of empty houses.